Hi guys, it's Agnes at mumcandoit.com, a blog to inspire mums to reach their potentials. In today's video, I'm very excited because I'll be doing Q&As. Now, I have been asked a few questions on my blog, on my Instagram, and also through the emails that I receive from my subscribers, and I've sort of sorted them out. I haven't yet thought about how I'm going to answer them, so I want it to be sort of a live thing. But I did categorize them, so I've started off my private life, going to my career, my studies, and also through a blogging and blog related questions. So I hope you guys enjoy it. I try to keep it sweet and short, but I promise to put that in my blog post as well, where perhaps I will elaborate more on some points. So yeah, let's get going with it. Now I've got a piece of paper where I'm going to be reading my questions from. Just because I just don't remember the questions you guys have asked me. This is why you can see me sometimes referring to the piece of paper that I'll be using. So, first question is, what do you do for a living? So I am financial controller and I work in a very small organization. Well, it's a globally big organization, but it's a very small branch here in the UK. We've got another branch in Glasgow, and I make sure that all the books are kept up to date, and I report everything to the States. And because it's a US organization, yeah, it's a pretty boring job if you like, but this is what I like doing. So I quite enjoy my job, but yeah, it can get quite daunting and repetitive because you do the same thing over and over again in the monthly cycle. So yeah, I like it, okay? And that's what's the most important, and pays my bills, so that's another important thing, right? The next question, how would you describe yourself? I'm quite friendly, polite, bubbly, outgoing, ambitious, hot-headed, and impatient. Like when I need something, I want it there and then. Why did you become an accountant? Oh, this takes me back to where I was back in school. So I was born in Poland, and that's where I studied. And I studied up until A-levels equivalent in Poland. When I came to the UK and I've started university, I've initially actually signed up to Airport and Airline Management course. This course was not very interesting for me, so after half a year, I gave up this in favor of accounts and finance, and this is the degree that I did, and I've achieved first class degree, and maybe that shows that I really did enjoy accounts and I understand it, and I'm a logical person, so perhaps this is why I enjoy it. I'm quite good with numbers as well. I'm not brilliant, I can't do like good mental maths, but I'm good with numbers and I like numbers, so perhaps this is another thing which steered me towards going into accounts. How long did you study ACCA? So for those that don't know, I am actually a qualified accountant, and very recently, well, just a year ago actually, I've gained ACCA qualification, and this is a membership in a profession of Associated Chartered Certified Accountants. And so far, this has been my biggest educational achievement. This is something comparable to master's degree in accounts. So if I was to do master's degree in accounts, I probably would still have to do ACCA going forwards in my career. In accounting world, accounts ACCA qualification is very well recognized, and it's also globally recognized qualification. So that's why I've chose it. And as to how long did I study this, it was a very long time. So because I finished accounts and finance degree, and I have gone to the university that was approved by ACCA, they followed the same structure of exams that ACCA follows. So finishing with the degree over in university have given me 9 exemptions to do my ACCA. At that time when I was doing ACCA, you needed to do 14 papers. 9 of them was like a foundational level, and 5 of them was a professional level. So the 5 professional papers were the one that I had to complete, and this has taken me ages. I was trying to take 1 paper at a time because I had full-time job, I had 2 children at that time. I did fail a few times in between, which made me want to give up the whole thing altogether, because it is a struggle. It is difficult to work full-time, it is difficult to have children, and then at the end of the day you have to make sure you find time and you accommodate the time to study as well. So I had to make a few sacrifices. I haven't seen my friends for a while, and I have not sort of kept my house up to spec, if you like. But yeah, I got there, and I'm really proud of myself that I did that, and it makes me really happy that I have managed. And I will give a massive credit to my husband here, because he was the one who was supporting me all the way. He was the one that was cheering me on, and every time I would fail he was just like, don't give up, just keep going, you'll get there, never mind how long it takes you, just carry on and study, because this is what will give us a good future, and especially for the kids, from the kids' point of view. I wanted them to be very proud of Mummy as well, that Mummy has achieved first class degree, and also she is a qualified accountant, because I feel like not having that role model in my family. My parents aren't qualified or aren't educated to a high degree, which doesn't mean that they're not very wise, because they have a lot of life knowledge. However, I think if my parents were in university, that would have kept me motivated. Perhaps I would have done studies a bit earlier in my life, because when I went to university, I was already an adult, and I got married prior to going to university, and then I had a baby while I was in university, because of which I had to take half a year off, and it just made the whole thing a little bit harder for me. That's not to say that it was impossible, but it meant that I had to juggle a lot of things at the same time. So perhaps if my parents were in university and I had that role model to follow, I would have gone into uni much earlier, and I would have done it while I was still a young person. So the next question is, what has been the most challenging in juggling kids, work and studies? So I know that a lot of my subscribers are actually mummies with kids that have to work full time, and they study as well. So this is something that I know it is very difficult to do. So it's all pretty much prioritizing those things that are more important. But what I would suggest, if you are a mummy that studies and also have children, perhaps commit to consistency. What do I mean by that? Like every single day without a failure, either in the morning or in the evening, whichever suits your family life. Sit down for half an hour up to an hour and do a little bit of studies, because that way you're training yourself and you're getting into habit of studying, and also it is much easier for you to learn things. So the next question is, how did you meet your husband? So this is going back 13 years now. Yes, we've been married for 12 years, known each other for 13. So I was working in the airport in a currency exchange place, and he was too working at the airport. And once I went for a lunchtime and we bumped into each other. And I thought I've known him, so he seemed familiar to somebody that I knew before, and I sort of said, I know you from somewhere. And he goes, yeah, I know you too. So it seems like we have met somewhere, but I think perhaps when you meet the right person, it's just meant to happen. So I meant to bump onto him so that to sort of get that connection going. And we've had like an instant connection, if you like. I really fancied the way he looked, and for what he told me later, that he did like the way I looked too. And then ever since, I couldn't talk long to him because I had to go back into my workplace. But ever since he's then seen me, we kept on bumping onto each other in the airport. Eventually he has asked for my number and didn't then call me for 2 weeks, which I thought was rather weird. But eventually he did call me, and we just arranged to meet up for the first date. And 3 months later we were deciding to get married. So it was a very much quick story with us, and we got married 8 months into our relationship, and May this year it was 12 years since we got married. How has frugal life benefited you, and why have you chosen this lifestyle above any other? So frugal life has not been something that I was actually aware of living. and I've only come to realize that this is what I was living like because frugality had become quite popular lately, and I have actually written down about how we've managed to save £5,000 in the space of a year. I will link this in the post below. So from the very early time that we got together, we wanted to save up for a house, and we wanted to make sure that we step onto the property ladder. So we just decided to cut down on things that we don't need and perhaps buy things cheaper if we can. So we were always shopping around for things and making sure that we can save up a few pounds. Like, my husband's really good at looking for deals, so whenever I need anything, I will look it up on Amazon and I would ask him to see whether he can actually find it cheaper. So he goes on and does his research, and this way he manages to save us quite a lot of money. Now, we don't have any subscription on the TV, we don't have any things that we don't need to pay for basically. So the reason why we've chosen this lifestyle above any other is only because this is just the way we wanted to save our money. So this has helped us to save money for the first house, and we managed to step on the property ladder. But the lifestyle sort of stayed with us, and we are still very sort of careful with spending money because, you know, it takes a long time to earn them. So we don't spend the money on unnecessary things. We only buy things that we do really need, and you will probably see around my house that we don't live like a lavish life, and we don't spend money on things that just look pretty but does not serve any purpose, if you like. So we do our research well and make sure that we buy things that we can buy cheaper, and we have got a few tips and tricks, if you like, that we use and we utilize every day to make sure that we can save a few pounds. And I have got a few post blogs about that, and I will link them in my description below, so you can find a bit more about frugal life and how we look at it from our perspective. The next question: how did you know you wanted to start a family and have 3 kids? Well, it wasn't sort of how did you know, is when we met with my husband, we were both on the same page, and I knew I met the one, and I have actually referred to this in my blog post, so I will link that in the description below as well, where I talk about how do you know that you met the one or the right person. And I just knew when I met my husband that we were going to have a family together, and this is something that we discussed before we got married, and also because we were both at that same sort of on the same page, if you like. We both knew that we wanted to get married, we wanted to have children, my husband wanted to have a big family, whereas I was sort of probably wanting small to medium-sized family, if you like. And I am single child myself. I did not have siblings, and this is why I wanted my children to have siblings, because it was quite lonely at times to be raised by myself, and also my parents worked a lot, so I didn't get to spend so much time with them. I was pretty much raised by my grandma. I'm getting older and my parents are getting older, and I'm sort of the only one that will ever be able to help them, and they back home as well, so it is even more difficult for me to know that there is nobody else that I could perhaps ask for help to look after my parents, if you like. So this is one thing that I've had in mind, that when we wanted to have a family, we knew it's going to definitely be 2 kids at least, and then after having 2 kids, the third one was sort of, you know, if it happens, it happens, because I did have some problem conceiving, but that we were lucky to be blessed with 3 children, and we're happy. Do you feel like you need your own time away from your kids? Yes, every parent does, and it is okay to feel that way. And next question: do you and your husband feel you need to have date nights? Again, yes, being a parent is very challenging, and you know, especially with us, the situation that we are in, not only because of the pandemic, but also because the way it is, we haven't got anyone to help us out. Like, we're both foreigners, if you like. My husband has got his family back in India, and I have my family back in Poland, so I've got plenty of family members, but they're not with us and they're not close to us, so it is very difficult because we can't rely on anyone else helping us out with the childcare, and we don't have that many friends because we are so sort of focused on our family life and so busy with it. And we don't really have much friends that could just offer to look after our children. Besides, we've got 3 children. It's much easier if you have just one child to, you know, sometimes ask your friend to babysit or to just drop your child off to somebody else to look after for an evening. But when you have 3, it is pretty much just me and my husband, and sometimes we alternate the days we look after them, and sometimes if we want to go out with friends, we do just alternate, and either I go or he goes, but we hardly ever go out together. And this is something we used to like doing as when we were younger and when we had a bit more of a help of my parents. It is important for the couple to have date nights and to remember that you're also 2 individuals and that you're also a couple, not only parents and not only here to provide for the family, but you're also here to enjoy your life and to enjoy life as a couple. So yes, we do feel like we want to have date nights, and at this point in time we are trying to just stick to what we can do at home. So we have movie nights, or we just had a meal together in the evening, or just spend time together and just talk, which is so important for us. So yeah, when the children go to sleep, this is when Mummy and Daddy spend time together, and that's our date, if you like. But I'm sure, you know, the time flies so quick, and I know our children will grow up very quickly. Our daughter is 11 years old now, so another 3-4 years time, when she was about 14 or 15 years old, she will be able to supervise the other 2, and then we can perhaps go out to watch a movie or to have a meal together. But at this point in time, we are happy the way it is at the moment. Do you spend separate times with each child? This is a very difficult one. Why? Because I am a very busy mum. I work full-time, I blog part-time, I do the videos, I have a house to look after, and I do not have much time to spend with each and individual child. That's not to say that I don't, but perhaps it is not on one-to-one basis and just like excluded time. So when I cook, my daughter loves coming and cooking with me, so she quite often comes over and helps me out cooking. This is when we have our sort of catching up time. And I do tend to talk to her whenever, I don't know, I'm getting ready, or, you know, to do her hair, then I talk to her a little bit. So as much as we don't have like a blocked time for sort of time that I do speak to them, I do spend time with them, and even if it's not just individually, I would just speak to them, or I would just spend time with them, I don't know, watching a movie or just cuddling. And obviously at this point in time, because the youngest one is sort of still in a baby stage, if you like, he's 3 years old, but he is the youngest, so he gets the most attention from me only because of his age. The middle one also gets my attention. I read the stories for them every night, and this is the sort of designated time for us to spend together. So this is how I spend the time with my children. Is it raising a family from 2 different cultural backgrounds? It is interesting actually, because as you know, I'm from Poland and I'm Roman Catholic, so I have not only different religion but also different cultural beliefs to what my husband has. And then my husband being from India and being Sikh, he has different religion and different cultural beliefs. So, and also then we live in England, where we have to sort of find a neutral ground to how we raise them, because they also going to be going to school, and in school the school follows obviously English of culture. So it is interesting because we cook different food, we speak 3 different languages in the house, and the kids can understand all 3 and speak all 3 to the extent, obviously English is the main language that we speak in the house, so they would understand and speak and write in English. They can also very well understand Polish and speak Polish, although the youngest one obviously has the least exposure to it, because my parents left a year ago, so I don't speak to them as much in Polish as I used to, because my parents aren't around anymore, and sometimes it's just easier to explain something in English because they are living in that language, if you like. and my husband has the least chance to teach them and expose them to his language because he works most of the times, and especially when they were younger he used to work much more to what he does now. But you know, it is interesting. There is a lot of interesting things that we can pass on to them, and you know, I'm trying to teach them my culture, my husband is passing on his culture, and I believe that with those two they will grow up to have the best bits, if you like, from each of us. And I think this is really, really nice to be able to raise them in a different culture. It's definitely interesting, and it's definitely benefiting them in that way that they can have an exposure to different cultures. Next question is, what do you find the most challenging thing in your life at present? I think a lot of people would answer this question with pandemic, and this is what I'm going to also say. So current times is when we're living in this pandemic stage and COVID-19 situation. Things are going slightly back to normal right now for us because our children have gone back to school, as I've mentioned already. But this is definitely something that we're struggling with, and having the time to ourselves, having the socializing going on, managing the children and the homeschooling and everything else was something that we struggled with. I have again written a blog post about it, so I'll link this in the link below, and I talked about anxieties of working mum, juggling the responsibilities during the lockdown as well. So this is something that affected me, and definitely pandemic is something that we struggle at the minute, and I'm so glad that things are getting back to normality kind of thing, because obviously we have been locked down for so long and not seeing friends and not having that physical contact with anyone else and not being able to go out and just enjoy your normal life and not travel. We've had a travel booked in between and we had to cancel it, or it was cancelled for us because of the pandemic, so we haven't had our family holiday as yet, and we're probably not going to have one for another few months because nothing is booked and we don't know whether we can book anything. So yeah, this is something that we're definitely struggling with at the moment, but fingers crossed everything is going to go back to normality very, very soon. So the next question is a blog relating question. So I have been asked quite a few questions about blog, and I would like to address them here. Hopefully you will find them interesting as well. So what made you decide to start a blog? So with the whole frugal life that I was talking to you about just a minute ago, we've always been interested in frugality and how to improve our finances, and I have been just scrolling down the internet and I came across a blog of Ken at humblepenny.com, and I will list this in the link below because it is one thing that I always stress to people, that if you are interested in financial independence and retiring early concept, the guy of humblepenny.com is one to go to. So I stumbled upon his blog post, and the blog post was talking about how you can sort of save money and also how to get a side hustle. If you want to aim for financial independence, you probably try to create a few streams of income, and Ken at Humble Penny talks a lot about side hustles and how you can also create a passive income. So passive income is when you don't actually have to do much in order to get the income coming to you. So when I was reading through his blog post, obviously he has made his blog very successful, and he is making enough money right now that he's quit his full-time job, and he was an accountant himself. So I felt sort of that I had so much in common with this guy, because he is an accountant himself and he started running blog, and with this blog he has made it very successful. So I found it very fascinating, and I always wanted to do something like that. I just didn't know how to start, where to start, and whether I could even do it, because I'm completely not an IT person. Like, I know how to do a few things on a computer, but IT is not my sort of strong point, if you like. So I definitely didn't know how to design a website or how to run a blog. So when I was reading his blog posts, he's had a guide on how to start a blog. And by the way, the side hustle that he was recommending to go for is blogging, and he's explained as well what blogging entails, and I have deeply thought about it, and at this point of time I was finishing my ACCA qualifications. So I've already had that goal set in my head that once I'm done with my exams and once I have time in the evenings and instead of studying I could focus on something else, blogging is definitely something I would want to give it a go. So I have decided that writing a blog would be somewhere where I could inspire and motivate other moms to go out and reach for their potentials. So because I was a mummy myself and I was juggling responsibilities of house and work and studies, I thought if I put this in writing, perhaps I could inspire and motivate some other mums. So this is where the whole blogging idea came upon, and I have taken it from there and I'm enjoying it. I've been blogging for about 9 months now and it is so rewarding. I mean, I've already got so many people reaching out to me and telling me how much I've inspired them, and that was my goal. My goal was to inspire mums to reach their potentials. So I'm so happy that there are so many of you that have been supporting me on that journey as well, because it is so rewarding to know that someone is out there that is reading what you're putting up on the internet and they finding this inspiring and motivating as well to keep going. When was the actual moment when you decided to start to write a blog? So as I did explain just a minute ago, I've realized I wanted to start a blog just before I finished my ACCA qualification. So when I was reading things from Ken at the humblepenny.com website, I've realized that this is something I wanted to be doing. So this was pretty much when it happened. So the idea evolved in my head and I'd taken it from there. So the next question asks about give recommendation and resources on how to start a blog. Now, if you want to start a blog, I mean, there is tons and tons of resources on YouTube, on Pinterest, on the Humble Penny website. And I haven't yet started talking about it because I don't feel like I'm an expert yet. I haven't made my blogging into a full-time career, and this is why I don't think that I can yet guide people on it. However, I could easily tell you how to or where to go to start a blog. There is no books as such, although they are books, but I think with the books it is a little bit difficult because blogging evolves as the years go by. Back in the days, blogging used to be just someone sort of writing diary kind of thing, and at this point in time, blogging is something that people turn into a full-time career because not only helps other people, but if it provides value and people are interested in your content, then they start collaborating with you, the firms starting to reach out to you and work with you, and you actually turning this into a business. So back in the days, it was very much like a diary, and now it is a business. However, a lot of people treat it as a hobby, and to me at this point in time, it's still a hobby, but I am aiming to turn this one day into my full-time career. How much time do you spend blogging? This varies greatly, and it will only depend on how much time I can accommodate. So I mainly blog in the evenings because I work full-time, and sometimes I would spend a couple of hours, sometimes I would spend only half an hour, sometimes on the weekend I would spend 5, 6, 7 hours even blogging. And this is not just as I'm sitting down and I'm spending 7 hours writing. This is across the day. So obviously I've got children, so I have to make sure that they are first looked after and fed and dressed, and everything is done in the house before I can sit down and do some bits and bobs on it. And blogging doesn't only entice you writing the blog post. There is so much to it that you need to do other than just writing, because if you write things on the internet, it doesn't mean that people are going to read it. You make sure that you promote your blog posts, so you have to create pins for Pinterest to make sure that people can actually see your blog post, because there is no point of you writing things on the internet if no one's going to read it. And the only way people is going to find out about you actually writing things is by you promoting your content. So the only blogging part to it is when you write, but then I think you have to also include everything else that comes with it. And this is how my YouTube channel developed as well, because I wanted to promote my content because I think it's good enough and it's helpful enough for people to get inspired and motivated by what I do and how I do it. And I really believe I can help other mums out there. So this is why I decided to put that on the YouTube as well, because I want to reach more audience. So this is part of the marketing that I'm trying to do to make sure that people can see my blog post. So the next question is, do you enjoy your blog and what do you hope to achieve by doing it? I do enjoy doing blogging, and I do enjoy doing video, and I do enjoy doing everything that blog entails, and I never thought I would actually. I never thought I would enjoy it that much. I mean, there are ups and downs when it comes to blogging, because obviously I would love to be one of those people that, or I would love to have one of those blogs that you start writing and the next month you already reaching so much audience and then you start making money out of it. This has not yet happened to me, but I think it is purely down to a niche that I'm in. So some niches are a little bit more profitable, or much more profitable to mine. Because of the niche I'm in, it is a bit harder to reach audience. There is probably a lot of other mums that are trying to inspire and motivate other mums. So I do feel that it is a little bit harder to write a mummy blog, not because there is no audience out there, but because there are so many other mum blogs that are out there. But this is why I'm doing the YouTube channel, because I am really hoping that this will help me to reach a little bit more of my audience. And the second part of the question was, what do you hope to achieve by doing it? Well, I'm hoping to inspire and motivate other mums. When I was back on my ACCA journey, what I found challenging was that I was the only person that I knew that was doing ACCA qualification that had children and full-time work at the same time. And although I did know other ACCA accountants, I never knew anyone that had to juggle everything around, and they have done their qualifications before they started their families. So I found like I had nobody else that I could relate to, and that could sort of inspire me and motivate me to keep going. So this is why when I the first thing I thought what I can blog about was to inspire and motivate other mums, because I felt like I was not having anyone to get inspired by and motivated by. So this is why I decided that that's what I'm going to write about. So what I'm trying to achieve by this is to motivate and inspire other mums. So the next question is, what kind of information can people find on your blog? On momcandoit.com you can find my tips and tricks on parenting, relationship, professional education, fitness ideas, working mom struggles, and everything else in between. You will also find plenty of positivity and good vibes. I also share money saving tips and ways you can utilize deals and promotion. As a family, we live frugal life and are aiming for financial independence in the near future. So if you are interested in such matters, you can find them on my blog too. So that's it. These were the questions I got asked by my subscribers, and I really am grateful for all your support and for everything that you guys been telling me and the kind words that I've been receiving from you. I really hope that you guys liked it, and please do let me know if you have any more questions, and also please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell notification to get notified when my next videos come in. Also, please visit my blog at momcandoit.com, and I really hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope to see you soon.